Inspiration, clarity, confidence, and wholehearted business strategy. Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the podcast especially for women in their 40s and beyond who know that business and personal development go hand in hand. Tune in each week for marketing, mindset, and personal growth strategies, along with inspiring stories from women around the world who are creating new businesses and lives that are personally fulfilling and financially rewarding. If you're looking to create a business and life you love, you're in great company. Let's find out what will unfold in your next chapter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus, and I'm so delighted that you're here. Hello there, and welcome to episode 16 of the Your Next Chapter podcast. Now, this episode can make a real significant difference to the way that you show up in your business and the way that you get results for your clients. Now, I've been talking with Maria Doyle, who's an ex-teacher who's brought her skills into the world of entrepreneurship, and she helps passionate professionals just like you and me create what she calls quality learning experiences. Now, that's an experience that engages and inspires and motivates someone, your clients, to create real change in their lives. And it's become Maria's life mission to take what she describes as lackluster courses and workshops and presentations, whether they're virtual or live, and transform those into "it changed my life" type of experiences. She has a brilliant quote from Benjamin Franklin that she wraps her work around, and that is, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, but show me and I learn." So Maria has created a framework, a 4-step framework that really teaches you the core principles behind adult learning and ensures that whatever experience that a client has with you, it really inspires them and teaches them to create that real change. Not just to have an experience wash over them. I mean, we've all enrolled in courses or workshops or online programs that, they grabbed us, but at the end of the day, we didn't do a lot with them. Well, that will not happen with your clients' experiences when you adopt this framework that Maria has created. There's 4 key steps to it of connect, create, communicate, and critique. And we go into those experiences, or rather those steps, in our conversation today, as well as hearing the story of how Maria came to this point in her own evolution in her next chapter to start teaching this really, really important stuff. Now, there's also, of course, a wonderful download, a resource that you really, really want to get your hands on, because it helps you see where are the gaps in your own courses, where are the gaps in your own work that you can close so that your clients get real quality experiences. And that's what you're after, because when your clients get results, that's when they start talking about you and encouraging and referring other people to come and try you on for size. So I would really encourage you to download this resource. You simply go to angelarasmus.com/16, that's 16, and the word download. And thanks so much to Maria for lending that information to us. But let's dive into this episode. It really has, as I said, the potential to make an enormous difference to the results in your business for your clients. And that's what we're all here for, to create a quality business that we're really proud of. So here's this week's episode. I hope you enjoy it. Well, hello there, and welcome back to Your Next Chapter podcast. Thanks for spending your time here with me today. And I'm extremely excited to bring to you today a wonderful woman who I've had the chance to work with and really see the impact that she makes on a lot of people's business, and then the ripple effect that happens as a result of hearing and learning from her. Maria Doyle helps passionate professionals create what she calls quality learning experiences. Now, these are the sort of experiences that really engage and inspire and motivate your clients to make real change. And that's what we all want as business owners, for the work that we do in the world to have a real impact. So Maria, thank you so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. Well, this whole concept of the business that you're running today, what I found with a lot of the people who are speaking on Your Next Chapter podcast, this is indeed a next chapter business for them. So it's really interesting to find out the pathway that you've come through to actually bring yourself to this business today. So can you share some of that background with us?
I sure can. I started off as an English teacher, actually. I didn't know what I wanted to do at university, so I studied languages because my mum was Italian, and I thought, well, I don't know what to do with my life, so I'll just do something I'm already good at. And that took me on a career that I thought was just, I didn't really think it was a career at all. I thought it was just something I was going to do to fill in a couple of years. I finished my Bachelor of Arts in languages, and then I got a job teaching English. I did a certificate in English language teaching and just decided to travel for a couple of years. And those 2 years turned into about 20 years on the road. I travelled through 35 countries. I ended up having 12 overseas postings, and I got bored just teaching English, so I started doing more teacher training, and then I went back and did a master's so that I could start getting the jobs that I really wanted, which was more in the higher level teacher training and curriculum development. So it was this bizarre, convoluted career that if you'd told me when I was 17 that this is where I'd be today, I would have told you were completely mad. But look, it was so much fun, and I just had a ball. So my last job was working out in the Pacific on a big aid and development project that was sponsored by the Australian government to take vocational education and training to that country, so that they're going to be the first, well, not the first, but maybe the second after the Maldives, environmental refugees. Their country is sinking, essentially. So, we were out there putting education and training into that country, and it was there after that posting that I decided that I'd worked in every level of education and training internationally. I'd worked for colleges, universities, private companies, organisations, family businesses. I'd done the whole gamut, and I never really had the free rein to do what I wanted to do and to really help impact people's lives as much as I could, because there was always some budget restraint or some rule that stopped us from doing what we really wanted to do. So I decided to go out on my own, and now I work with professionals who they're passionate about their content. They know that their content can change lives, but they don't necessarily come from a teaching background, and so they want to make sure that whatever learning experience they create really has that impact, because, good content is good content. But when you structure it with best practice teaching and learning principles, and it turns it into an experience that really engages people and inspires them to change it, motivates them to get to the end of the course and to really apply what they've learnt throughout that course. So, I love what I do now. It's just so much more meaningful to be working with people who really want that change or really want to help their clients change their lives. So, I feel absolutely blessed to be where I am. It's been a very convoluted road to get here, but absolutely blessed.
That's so good to hear. And listening to that question or that statement that you made, if someone had said to me at 17 that you'd be where I am today, you would have laughed at them. And that happens to so many of us. We can't necessarily see the next, where the staircase is leading to. We just got to take, that next step in faith. And in your case, run around 35 different countries until you came to this point here. So there's certainly been some adventures. But listening
fun. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say it's funny
okay.
Because, you talk about the next chapter. I don't know how many chapters I've had in my life. It seems every 2 years I'm starting another one. But I think it's it is taking that leap of faith. And I think it's when you know that you just need to move on to that next part of your life. You need to close off that last. For me, it was always a country that I was closing off and then opening up a new country and stepping into it. But this chapter, this running a consultancy chapter, is by far the most challenging and by far the most rewarding chapter that I've had so far. So, take the leap of faith. You can do it.
I reckon that's being an entrepreneur, that's almost like the bookends that we have in our businesses, the most challenging and then on the other hand, the most rewarding. There's certainly no doubt that an entrepreneurial's path is never an easy one, but would you agree that when you're doing something that you're really passionate about, getting through those tricky parts or those parts when you've really got to hustle is a lot easier and a lot, not so much easier, but easier to handle when you're doing something you're passionate about?
I think I've been through a really interesting journey the last 3 years. I've been working on this business. I just had my 3-year incorporation as a PTY Ltd just last month.
Congrats.
And I think, I know, it's been, what a road this chapter has been. And I would say that at the end of last year, I closed off a chapter which, I know this might sound strange to some, but I think there's a very big difference between a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a consultant. I really do think there's a big distinction between those three things, and they quite often get lumped together, and business training or business coaches quite often lump those three jobs into the same bucket, and I think they really are very different things. And I was really chasing the entrepreneurial dream for the first few years, and I've realised that I'm actually much happier in a role where I'm a consultant. So yeah, my business, even within this 3-year business journey, there's been chapters that have opened and closed within that. So yeah, I think it has been much easier for me to settle into the role of a consultant and to hustle as a consultant rather than an entrepreneur. So I think I really struggled the first couple of years trying to get my head around that entrepreneurial mindset, because it's not something I think that really fitted very well with my skills and my business vision, my business goals, because my goal is really, and what brings me joy, is to work with people one-on-one and to see those aha moments and to see the change and to see people come to me confused and overwhelmed and stressed out and going, no, I've got all this great content, but I just don't know what to do with it. And then seeing them walk away going, oh my God, I've got a framework. I can do this, it's easy. And I don't think that selling a course, like a mass producing a course online where I can't see that joy on a one-to-one basis or in a group training situation, that does not bring me joy. So all the hustling that I did trying to create, say, for want of a better word, a passive income product through a course, which is what I was coached to do, just wasn't bringing me joy. So all of the advertising and marketing and the stuff that I needed to do to sell that course never quite felt right. So when I stepped back from that and just went, actually, I want to work with people one-on-one. I don't want to mass produce something that sells millions of copies, because that doesn't bring me ultimate joy. It just got so much easier. All of a sudden, it just all started opening up to me. And I was like, oh my God, it's just, this is the feeling I've been chasing for the last 2 years. So a subtle shift in mindset. But yeah, when you're doing what you're meant to be doing, it does get easier. It feels right, and it's easier to do because it feels right. Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense, because I'm relating to what you're saying, because I've been on a similar sort of journey in the respect that I was a consultant. That's what I was. And I was a business owner. I still am a business owner, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And I absolutely see the distinctions between them. And I think you and I have had this conversation before about, and this is not a judgment thing, it is just a observation that I need the contact with people as well. The purely passive e-course type scenario, which I can see the legs, I can see the value, I can see lots of good things about it, but I also have to recognize that it's not the best fit for me. So my courses always have the group training and masterminding part to it, because I need that connection. It really fuels me, and that's what really gives me my fuel to keep moving forward in my business. It sounds like you and I are quite similar in that respect.
Yes, exactly. And I think, the almost ironic thing is that the minute I let go of that needing to create a passive income stream from something that would, like an e-course or whatever, just let that go and settle back into doing what I'm best at, and that is helping people one-on-one and helping people in group training situations. I've now translated all the information that I had originally in the e-course is now the basis of the library that I'm creating. And that library is not designed to be sold en masse. It's designed to be sold as an adjunct when people want to work with me one-on-one. So it's funny, because I am actually creating another passive income product, but it's just not got the same energy around it. It's not something that I'm hoping to sell to strangers. It's almost something that when people know me and trust me and need my help and know that they want the skills that I've got, or they need the training that will help them have the skills that I've got, that they can access that training in different buckets. So I don't feel like I'm having to shove a high-ticket, high-price item on people. It's people can pick and choose what they want from me, and all of a sudden that feels so much more in line with who I am and what I do, because I don't believe that a one-size learning experience fits all, and this is sort of my core belief and best practice teaching and learning principles, is that everybody learns differently, and that you can't hope to create one product that will suit everybody. And so, diversifying the way you present information to people, or the way it's available to people, is how you can serve more people in a more genuine way, in a way that's really going to, help them and that they're going to be able to relate to. So it's funny how, and maybe it was when I had the e-course, I knew deep down that an e-course was not what was actually going to help my people. They needed that information, but in smaller chunks, or when at the time that was right for them. So now that I've broken it up and put it into buckets, I can say, okay, you need that bucket. Go and look at that concentrated part of the training. You don't have to bite off the whole thing at once. You can just take the parts that you need at any one time. So, and that is another best practice teaching and learning principle. You know, it's needs-based. It's not, this is what I think you need and you need to digest all of it. It's, here's a smorgasbord of what you could need. Now, based on where you're at, this is, I think we need to sort of sort through and work out exactly which pieces you need, because you might not actually need the whole bundle. So it's funny, isn't it? You know, the minute that I step back into my truth, and that is, you know, there isn't a one-size-fits-all that's going to work. And if there is, then it'll work for a certain section of society, and they're the people that will buy that product from you. But yeah, I go back to my truth and I actually recreate my offering into something that is in line with my truth, and all of a sudden it feels good and it's easy to promote. Funny, isn't it?
Isn't that hilarious? We come full circle. We come full circle, and yeah, that's picking up, I think, on that idea of getting away from the shoulds. Oh, well, I should do that, and I hear that that's the way of doing things, and therefore I will create this or I will create that, and ignoring your own body barometer that's going, I'm not happy. And when you actually stopped and paused and listened to it, and then you did the thing that was really, you know, at the core, things started falling into place again. I don't think that's surprising at all.
Yeah. Oh, look, and this is the thing. I think especially when you're in an online community or online forums, and there's so many people are doing this and doing that, and then, you know, tomorrow it's webinars, and the next day after that it's challenges, and the next day after that there's some other thing that you should be doing, and you feel like, you know, this comparisonitis, oh, that person's doing that and it's working for them, so I'm going to try that, and that person's doing that for them and that's working for them, so I'm going to try that. And my business coach is saying this, and my other friend's business coach told her that, and you just get sucked into this almost whirlwind of ideas and things you should be doing, you know, like you say, the shoulds. And when you step back and just go, actually, I'm just going to remove myself from that whirlwind and say, what actually brings me joy, and what is my skill set? What are the things that I'm the best at, and how can I leverage that into a product or service that feels right to me and that I know is going to serve my client into the highest good? All of a sudden things start falling into place. And I wish that I had that advice 3 years ago, because I would have taken a vastly different journey to the one that I've taken. Not that I regret a single thing I've done, because it's all part of the journey, but I would have taken a very, very different path had I known what I know now. But, you know, that's just business in general, really, isn't it?
Oh, I think it is, but I also think that the honesty of the way that you're sharing that is really important for people to hear. I mean, that's why you and I click here, because I've got a very, very similar outlook. But there could be someone listening right now who has been shooting all over themselves, and all they needed to hear was that experience that you've had to have them stop that and go in the direction that they really want to.
Yep, don't do it. I spent the better part of last year trying to promote this e-course and doing what everybody told me to do. You know, the Facebook ads and the marketing, the sales funnel, and the, you know, okay, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, and it works wonderfully for some people, and I understand that it is a tried and proven method that works for people all over the world, and that some of the biggest, most successful people, that is exactly what they do to make their millions. But it's not right for me. And being able to say that and really stand in it and go, and it's not right for me, and it doesn't feel right, and that's okay. Like, that is the most single empowering thing that I have come away with from 2015, was that when something doesn't feel right, it's not right. And, you know, there's that sort of, you get to that point where you're going, oh, but, you know, you've got to be uncomfortable. There's that point where, you know, like, you can't break through unless you're doing something that feels, you know, that's challenging. And I think there's a big difference between something that's challenging and something that feels wrong. And that is what I spent 2015 realising, that challenge is good. Pushing yourself through different challenges is good. Extending yourself is great. You know, putting yourself in challenging situations that make you grow as a person and a professional is what life's all about. But when it feels wrong, when at the core of you, you are like, you sit down to do it and it makes you feel sick, it makes you feel like you're hunching over in on yourself, that is when you've got to walk away. When it scares you, you know, that sort of good scared, you know, when you're standing on a diving board and you feel full of adrenaline and you're like, I'm scared, but I'm ready to jump. And it feels really good, like it feels expansive. That's when you run towards the challenges. When you're standing in front of them and they make you ill, like to the point where you just want to find a hole and crawl into it, that's when you need to be assessing whether it's actually best for you, in my opinion. I mean, that might be counter to every good piece of business coaching advice that's ever been said in the world. But for me, that's what I've learned about myself this year, is that good challenges feel good.
Oh, I couldn't
and
agree.
when they make you feel like that, then you don't walk away.
I couldn't agree more, and that's where I think we've got to give ourselves the space to actually pause and feel into things, because I know one of the changes I've needed to make, and a big part of last year, was finding the calm inside, because I tend to move at a pretty hectic pace, and when you keep doing that, you don't necessarily get the feelings that you're talking about. So it's really tapping into your intuition a bit there to think what we mean. But you've had these experiences, and you've come this full circle, and now you're into a next chapter, not the next chapter, but a next chapter for you that feels really right. And at the core of that, which is what we're looking at or chatting about today, is really that quality learning experience, however you want to actually make that happen, be it on or offline. So can you define for us, what is that? What, if you were saying this is what a quality learning experience is all about, what would you say that is down to the core?
A quality learning experience. Oh, how do I summarise that? Do you know, it's something that creates real change in someone's life. There's content and then there's action. And good content is nothing without action. You know, you can go to a seminar, or you can go to a presentation, or you can listen to a video online. You can go, wow, that was great information, and you can walk away and you'll probably never do anything with it. If that learning experience makes you stand up and do something differently, be something different, feel something differently, then that's been a quality learning experience, because it's helped you change something. And I think that's with most of the people that I work with, most of the professionals that I work with, have got a bucket of information. They've got tons, they've got bucket loads of information. What's lacking from a lot of their quality, from their learning experiences, is how to actually translate that content or that information into action. So as far as I'm concerned anyway, I mean, there's lots of buzzwords around education, but, needs-based learning and outcomes-based learning and action-based learning, they all mean the same thing, and that is, what does my client need and how can I actually get them to do it? Not just to understand why they need to do it or understand the components of doing it, but what can I actually get them to do so that they walk away and actually take action? So to me, that's the crux of it. If you're not doing something with the information that you're giving people, then it's just information, and there's a fair chance it'll go straight over their head, or it'll get stored away in a tab on their computer that they'll never open again.
That distinction is really important. That I love that quote. Good content is nothing without action. So that's really at the core of it. So you mentioned there that getting people to understand why they need to do it. Is that really a crux piece? Because I guess the initial thought that I would have is, well, if someone has hired you or enrolled in a course or whatever the case may be, they recognise that they have a need. Is that their why, or are we talking going deeper than that to actually motivate them to do the content, to take the actions?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different parts of scaffolding a quality learning experience, and a lot of it is understanding why people need it in the first place. If I said to you, Angela, do you want to learn how to change a fan belt with a pair of stockings? Your initial reaction.
I'm intrigued, but go further.
Yeah, okay, so would you give me a Saturday of your time to learn how to do that?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. Angela, you need to get in a car now and drive to Adelaide. I've got 3 children that need to be delivered to their parent who is ill. You need to leave within the next hour. I've got a car for you, but it's not brand new. There's a fair chance it'll break down. I think you should learn 3 things before you go: changing a fan belt, refueling with a siphon, and some other very important thing. If you don't understand how to do these things, there's a fair chance you're going to be stuck on the Nullarbor somewhere, and you're going to be without help, assistance. There might not be a petrol station for 3,000 kilometres. You may actually need to do this stuff yourself. Now, can you give me an hour of your time to learn how to change a fan belt with a pair of stockings?
I'm there with bells on.
With bells on, right? So the difference is that it's the same content. Nothing changed, except all of a sudden I gave you motivation to learn. And that is what, again, a lot of people miss out of that learning experience is, why is it so important? Why do I need to do it? How is my life going to be different because I know this information. So absolutely, if that's not somehow threaded into your learning experience or even your sales page, well, that's marketing 101, isn't it? You're talking about what people need, how they're going to feel before and after they use your product or service, how their life is going to change because of it. So yeah, definitely delving into the whys is really important. But that's got to do with marketing just as much as it's got to do with good teaching. If you're not motivated to learn, then you're not going to engage. It's as simple as that.
So it's really understanding that just because somebody's enrolled doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to finish the course if we're talking about an online or some sort of a group course. I mean, I think we've all got, it's safe to say, we've all got on the hard drive of our computer stuff we started, we were motivated to do, but we never finished. And that could possibly be because the learning experience didn't have that great big Q word on the front. But, can we all be change makers in that respect, Maria? I mean, I'm not a teacher. I don't have any formal qualifications. So is it something that can hold us back, or is it something that you can really, really learn and get much better at, whether it be in a course or whether it be in one-on-one work with somebody or in a group program? Is it something that we can all learn?
How to be a better teacher, do you mean?
Yes.
Oh, look, I think there are people that are born teachers. There's those kids that are, they're born leaders, they're born teachers, they're born with empathy and patience and being able to sit with someone and take them through the basic steps again and again and again, and they don't get upset. It's a vocation in that sense, I think. Nurses, for example, people who are born with a stomach for blood and gore and being able to nurture and be compassionate. I think there are certain professions in the world that are definitely vocations, and there are some people who are just born into it and get it right from the get-go. But that doesn't mean to say that other people can't learn, and it doesn't mean to say that you're born, even if you are born a teacher, it doesn't mean to say that you're born understanding all the tips and tricks and methodologies and principles and everything else that underlies it. So I think there are people that are predisposed to being good teachers, but it doesn't mean that it's not a skill that you can't learn. I mean, it's like, getting on a bike. Some people who just get on and ride, and they're like, well, how do they know the balance and where to put their feet and everything? Well, they just do. And there's other people who physically need to be taught, and, you need to put the trainer wheels on and really hold them, for a lot longer than other people might need to be. So it's a continuum. I mean, essentially good teaching is about understanding best practice teaching and learning principles. And, some people study 4 years, a Bachelor of Education to do that. And other people just get into a classroom and learn as they go because they are reflective learners and because they seek counsel from people who have been teaching for longer than them and say, oh, how did you do that? Or how do you do this? And I mean, some of the best teachers I know are people who do not hold any teaching certificates whatsoever, but they've just surrounded themselves with really good guides and mentors, and they've been on the job long enough to know what works and what doesn't work. So, can you learn it? Of course you can. It's like any skill. I think there's certainly people who are born into it and pick it up much easier. There's other people who need more instruction and need more training and help. But yeah, definitely something that you can learn. And I've worked with a range of professionals, some who, shudder in their boots at the thought of giving a presentation. And after working with me, we're like, what was I worried about? Like it's not about whether they are actually an effective presenter or not. It's about whether they've got the confidence to stand up and say, I know my stuff. Do you know what I mean? Mm. So yeah, there's lots of different aspects to being a good teacher. And there's a lot, being a great teacher is about being a reflective learner and continually improving what you do and how you do it. And that's a sort of, again, another core pillar of what I teach. That whole critique pillar is about being able to review and evaluate and reflect on what you do so that you're in a continuous improvement loop. So yeah, is it something you can learn? Of course it is. Is it something you ever stop learning? No. I mean, am I the master teacher who can't learn anything else about teaching and learning? Hell no. Like, oh my God, you're learning every day. So yeah, it's just a continual, it's like cooking. You can't ever begin to think that you've learnt every recipe in the world or that you've gotten to the end of where you can learn something from somewhere else. You'll always find a new chef or a new cuisine or a new country that you've never heard of, and then you'll find another whole array of stuff that you never knew.
Yeah, absolutely. You can expand further and further. So I guess part of this then is that recognition, as I was mentioning before, is that this isn't just about online learning. This is an approach that we can take to however we've decided to show up in our business. If we've decided to be a consultant or an entrepreneur or a coach or a business owner, an e-course person, a group training, a retreat, whatever. What I want everyone everyone to understand. And what I've certainly learned from you is that the same principles apply. Now, I look at when I worked with you personally at helping me improve the structure and the content and the way that I taught very much my online and combined group program, the one that I ran in 2015 called Aligned. And what you taught me is that lots of stuff, but at the basis of it is that those four core principles behind creating that quality learning experience, and they were connect and create and communicate and critique. Now, being conscious that we're going to direct our listeners to come and find out lots more about what you do on your own website, could you just touch on those 4 points when it comes to overall creating that quality learning experience and how each of those work? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and this is, it's funny. I mean, you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. And one of my clients, it may have even been you, I can't remember who it was, just when they'd gone through the course with me, they in the subsequent meeting we had, they just went, I didn't realize that this is stuff I can apply to anything I do with adults. And I'm like, yes. Because if you are a teacher or a mentor or a coach or a guide, or if you are in a position where you are leading adults, then these are skills that are going to enhance whatever it is that you're doing with someone. So there's 4 basic pillars of creating a quality learning experience. And a quality learning experience is when you actually get people to create real change in their life. The first pillar is about connecting with people. So connect, I call it connect. So what that is understanding what they need, understanding how they learn, and then setting clear expectations around that learning experience. And not so much so that you've got sort of boundaries or barriers around what you can and can't deliver, but so that you can basically create some expectations and then exceed them, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to deliver this and this on this base value, and then I'm going to wow you and blow you away with more. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of people's learning experiences is exactly, how much is expected from the client, how much is expected from the facilitator, all those. So it's not terms and conditions, but it's around those sort of that loose understanding of what the learning experience is going to involve. And if it's not needs-based and you're not catering to different learning styles, then you've lost half your market. If you don't know what people really need, then you can't create a learning experience that's going to help them take action in the parts of their lives that they need to. So, yeah, connecting is so important, and it's a step that so many professionals disregard. They just start creating content, but they haven't really addressed those first issues first. So that's the first pillar.
Can I actually pop in there for just a second, ask a question? When you're talking about, does it really address their needs? Is it really needs-based? One of the questions that comes up is people saying, well, how am I going to discover that? It's the first time I've run this. This is what I'm creating that I think is what people need. And you say I could go and ask them, but I don't have a huge audience yet. How could we tackle that? How could you really dig down into those needs? Is it something we do within the course, or is there another way of doing it?
Oh, there's a lot of different ways you can do that, and it really depends whether you've done a pilot, whether you've got a pilot group of people, whether you've got a set of people that are your target market or not. I mean, essentially, you need to ask people, and I think it's very true to say that a lot of people forget what they didn't know when they were in a position that their target client is now in. And I think there's also there's a trap to fall into going, yeah, I've been where you've been. I know what you need. There's a fair chance that you were in their position 2 or 3 years ago, and the market has changed. The online environment has changed. The world has changed. And so you can't actually put yourself in their position because you are not in their position at this point in time. You have all this knowledge and experience and whatever else that they don't have right here in February in 2016. You cannot put yourself in that chair. So you need to find people who are in the chair and ask them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so you've got to put that's a really good point, because we often do say, and this is a part that I teach as well, is the importance of empathy, of knowing what it's like to be in their shoes. But you've made a really important distinction there that things have changed since when I was there, say 5 years ago. So yeah, we're just got to start having conversations, and that can happen even in the online environment, in Facebook groups, or talking to the current clients you've got and asking them what they're stuck on, etc., before you actually start to create a framework for your coaching or your program or whatever it is. So thank you for that. Just wanted to dig down a little deeper. So we've connected.
Absolutely.
And now we're going to create.
Yes, and so that's all about scaffolding the learning experience so that it is basically put in a framework so it's going to engage, inspire and motivate people most effectively. So a lot of people think scaffolding is simply, module 1 goes before module 2, which goes before module 3, and that is part of it. But it's also then what happens within module 1 and how do I actually put that module together so that it is created in a way that is going to engage and inspire and motivate people to get to the end of it before they get on to module 2. So it's not just about sort of chunking your knowledge into like areas that can be taught together. It's then once you've got a chunk of information that needs to be taught together, how do I then structure that so that it's going to be as engaging as possible? So it is also about, staying organised and understanding that overview of what you do. And that's what I do with most of the clients who work with me one-on-one is I help them catalogue all of that information so that they can see it. Because a lot of people sort of drown in the amount of information they've got. They're like, I can teach this and I can teach that and I've got this and I've got that. And it just keeps going around and around and around in their head. So best practice teaching and learning is to actually get it into a curriculum framework. So, it can be as simple as a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be anything, convoluted or highly technical. It's about you understanding the scope of knowledge that you've got, how it all fits together, and then visually how to represent it so that your clients can see the amount of information that they can learn from you and they can cherry pick the parts that they need, or they can understand the process they're going to have to go through to understand how it all fits together. So if you're not providing that visual overview, if you're not staying organised, people aren't going to know which parts of your brain to access, essentially. So, that second module is about being the second pillar of a quality learning experience is about you as the facilitator, knowing how much information you've got, knowing how to fit it all together so it's easy for you and your clients to work through, but then also how to scaffold the actual module itself so that you're setting your clients up for success so that they will have actions at the end of it.
I remember when we were looking at that, and one of the really, really great things that you did was there's a tendency to, I know this and I know this, so I could throw it in, but pulling you back to how does that enhance the particular goal that you're looking to help people achieve? Is that relevant to it, or is that just superfluous? And getting really quite strict on what should be in and should be out. And that was really, really, really helpful for me when it came to that creation part. Okay, so we've connected, we've created, now we need to communicate.
Yeah, so now it's taking all that information and communicating it in a way that is going to keep your audience engaged. And there's 3 key parts to it. There's structure, there's visual aids, and there's delivery skills. And these day and age, these day and age, what does that mean? These days, what was that expression I was muddling up? Anyway, these days, the way you can deliver information is so... there's so many different ways you can do it. Traditionally it was the overhead projector with the slide. Then we sort of graduated to PowerPoint. And now that we've graduated to Prezi and to all these amazing ways that you can deliver information online. But if we go back to basics and online learning isn't really your thing, that you have a group program or a one-on-one program or a workshop that you want to deliver, there's so many ways of delivering good information. That's one part of it. So looking at all the different ways you can deliver, and then making sure that you have good delivery techniques. So you have good presentation skills, and good presentation skills aren't just about, your delivery technique. It's also about the way that information is structured. And it's also about the visual aids that you use to enhance that learning experience. So there's a lot to it. A lot of people think, no, he's just a born presenter. And I would argue with that. I would say he's a born entertainer. And people are born entertainers. People stand up, they've got a huge personality and they're great at talking and telling stories and working a crowd. That's an entertainer. It's not a facilitator of learning. A facilitator of learning knows how to structure a learning experience so that people are engaged the whole way through. And if they're an entertainer as well, an absolute bonus. So you don't have to be this huge personality to be able to be a great facilitator of learning. It's about having a good structure, about having good visual aids, and it's about having some baseline delivery skills so that you can engage and motivate your clients to get to the end of your presentation and know that they're going to walk away and do something differently.
That's so reassuring to hear that part, that you don't have to be an entertainer. And I know that that's come across sometimes from a public speaking perspective, that, unless you're humorous, then you're not going to be as good as some other people. And it's just not true.
That's nonsense.
Yeah, it's just complete rubbish.
It obviously helps. If you're born with a personality, of course it's going to help. But at the end of the day, I mean, I say this to my people in my workshops, what is it? Is it confidence or is it content? What do you have to do to be a good presenter? And everyone goes, oh, it's confidence. I'm like, what? So if you're really confident and you've got absolutely terrible information, terrible content, you're really going to be able to teach people something? And they're like, oh, it's not about being confident. It's about having good content and being confident with that content. And when you're confident with your content, then you're going to be able to put it into a structure, if you know the basic structure of presentation skills, to get people to stay engaged with it. So, yeah, there's lots to it. I mean, obviously we're summarising here, but, just because you're not an out there personality or a born entertainer, it doesn't mean that you can't be a good facilitator of learning. It's just, there's so much more to it than that, and it's not rocket science. It really is just some simple steps that you can take and some simple structures you can follow, and to keep people engaged. As simple as that.
That's awesome. And then when you come to the next pillar, the actual critique part, can you dive just gently into that for us?
Yeah, well, it's what I was saying before, it's all very well and good to connect and have needs-based learning that caters to different learning styles, and it's beautifully, there's expectations around it, and it's great to have this create sort of idea where, you've got this wonderfully scaffolded body of knowledge that is outcomes-based and, all in the right order and fabulously structured, and then it's, you take it and you deliver it in a way that's engaging and there's great visual aids and it's all structured beautifully and people walk away going, yeah, that was awesome. That's just the start of any learning experience. That fourth pillar, critique, is where you make it better every time you do it. You evaluate it, you get people's feedback. And some things, the feedback that you get from people is sometimes so little but can be so huge in terms of the reach to people and what your clients are thinking of you or thinking of the learning experience. I remember I had one client say, oh my God, it's really annoying when you download your PDFs. When you click on the PDF, it replaces the window. Then I close the PDF and I've logged out of the course. So I have to log back in again. So can you make the PDF open in a new window? And I'm like, oh my God, that's such a simple tweak. But it was causing her so much frustration. I was like, wow, how many other people have I been frustrating because of a simple tweak? So it's just stupid stuff like that. You don't know what you don't know until you realise you don't know it. And that's what evaluating and reviewing a course does. And, there's some big names out there that go, oh, yes, I've just been through a massive course review. Check out my new course. And it's like, there's been no course review. You've just updated the skin of your website. That sort of angers me a little bit. Course review is not about changing the colours or making it look pretty. It's about looking at the learning experience that you've put on, not pledging, what am I saying? Wrong word. Asking your people, what was good? What wasn't so good? What should I continue? What shouldn't I? What would you have preferred for there to be there? Or was there enough? Was there too much? Was there not enough? And then tweaking the course so that it's a better learning experience. And that's the continuous improvement loop. So evaluating, reviewing and reflecting to always make it better.
And it's actually, I just wanted to highlight the point there because you're making me think as you're talking to make the point again that this is not just about the online courses. You could be providing, let's say, a 6-month coaching program with somebody in a business or a life coaching sense. You could do this checking in at the halfway mark, checking in at the end, because you may have another one-on-one client about to start with you, and you could learn from that experience by getting the critique of what someone's experienced with you one-on-one, and then connect and create and communicate better for the next client who comes along. So this is the real,
absolutely,
such important stuff, and no matter how you are looking to impact change in the world.
Yeah, if you are working with adults and you are not seeking feedback, you are missing out on golden nuggets of personal and professional development. It's as simple as that. But you don't know what other people think of you until you're told, essentially. It's not just you, but it's the methods that you're using or the resources that you're using or the order that you do something in. The first time I piloted my 4 Pillars course, I had one of my clients just go, well, that's completely back to front. I can't do that without knowing that. And I was like, oh. And again, it's that position where I know it because I live and breathe it. And so I thought I knew the order that a novice would need. But a novice steps in and goes, well, how do we do that without that? I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. But I couldn't see it because I was too close to it. And this is what evaluating and reviewing and reflecting on a learning experience does for you. It allows you to, put yourself back in the learner's chair because you're getting that real feedback from them that's live, and you can, sometimes it's massive things and you've got to change, the whole order of your course, which is what I had to do, which totally, put me back a few months. But sometimes it's just tiny little things that you can change that totally enhance the learning experience. So, yeah, whether it's a workshop or a mastermind or a coaching 6-month coaching package or an e-course or a book even, it doesn't matter what learning experience it is, you can seek feedback and you can improve. You can always improve on something, and the more people that go through it, the more opinions you'll have. And sometimes, sometimes the opinions are, you need to take them with a pinch of salt and decide that that's not the information that you needed to deal with just right now. I had one parent in Japan tell me I was playing too many games and that the children weren't learning. They didn't realise that all the games were language-based and all the games were actually teaching games. So I had to show them that, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't realise they were actually useful." So sometimes the feedback is well-meaning but misplaced, and that's there's all part of the process. I can teach you how to sort of isolate good, bad, and ugly feedback, and what you do with it. But look, it's continuous improvement. If you are in a position where you are guiding adults and you are not seeking continuously. It's not all the time. You don't have to be asking for it every other day or anything like that. But if you're not continually polling your target clients, your target market and your existing clients, then you don't have your finger on the pulse. And, I mean, everyone knows a lecturer who has been teaching the same course at uni and it hasn't changed for 20 years. It's lackluster. It's not on the money. It's not best practice and needs-based because they don't have their finger on the pulse. It's as simple as that. So if a course is not being updated on a regular basis, then it's a sign. A course or a workshop or whatever, if it's not updated on a regular basis, it's a sign of the integrity of the facilitator as far as I'm concerned. And just from having been that many years in teaching and learning.
And I love that. I remember hearing, I can't remember exactly where the context of this was. I think it was in a conversation that we had, and you said that some people were a little bit fearful about, bringing their course or their workshop or whatever it was to you because they might be judged. And you said, damn right, I'm going to judge you. I'm going to judge you as somebody who cares enough about creating a quality learning experience for their audience. And damn right, I'm going to judge you as doing the right thing. Or words to that effect. And I thought, that was powerful. That was great to hear.
Yeah, that's a blog post that's still being written. And yeah, it is exactly that. I had someone absolutely gorgeous, quite a high-profile client actually. She's like, "Oh, don't judge us. Please don't judge us. We know it's a bit of a shambles." And I said to her, "Too right, I judge you." And I sort of saw the look of shock on her face, and I went, "I judge you as someone who cares, someone who is a professional who has taken the time and invested the money into making this better for your clients. I'm judging you. I'm judging you as a damn good facilitator of learning. You care enough to make the changes. You care enough to get inside your program and make it as good as possible." I mean, that's not some sort of weird misplaced guilt trip to anyone who's listening. If you don't work with Maria, then you can't be a quality instructor. That's certainly not the message there. But the message is that when you care, you take the time to get the framework or to realise where your skill set is. I mean, I know that my marketing skills are far from where they need to be, and that's why I employ someone to help me, because I know it's a skill set I don't have. So, it's about looking inside yourself and going, do I know these basics? Do I know how to do this? Have I been doing this before? Or do I need some help? And reaching out to someone who can give you help. And I mean, it's not best practice teaching and learning. The internet is flooded with it, so it's not difficult to find good information on it. It's just recognising the skill set or recognising the skill gap, and then making the time and effort to fill it.
To close that gap, absolutely. And the great thing is, for everyone who's listening, we know that the whole reason why you've listened all the way to the end of this particular episode is because you have this desire to make the experiences of your own clients be a quality learning experience that will allow them to make that real change, because we all want to have that impact in the world. So I'm very grateful that you've provided some fantastic information for our listeners to access today. And this is a training skills assessment which actually goes over those 4 key areas of connect, create, communicate and critique, asking you some key questions to see how you are working in these 4 areas. And then Maria is providing access to a whole host of resources based on your answers that'll help you improve the learning experience that you're creating for your own clients. So to get to that download, it's angelarasmus.com/16, the number 16, and then the word download, so you can access your training skills assessment. Maria, this was one of these golden conversations where there is so much in here, and I absolutely know personally the immense benefits that I got from working with you to improving the learning experience that I have for my own clients. But even the generosity of the resources that are on your website is a great place to start for anybody that is committed to making this sort of change. So for everyone who's listening, how can we go and connect with you? Where's all the goodies?
At the moment, they're on the mariadoyle.com. I am creating something called The Library, which will be hosted at createrealchange.com. That is, because I'm actually a bit swamped with work at the moment, it's all in the process of happening. But at the moment, all the freebies are on my welcome page. So I know with the training skills assessment, it's a really good idea to start with that, because if you do that training skills assessment that you can download through Angela, then you'll know whether, it sort of addresses all the key areas. And if you get a low score on that quiz, then you know there's some room for improvement there. So on my website, there's a whole heap of freebies, and again, catering to different learning styles. You can download a 12-day challenge. You can download a 12-step blueprint if you prefer reading. The challenge is for people who prefer, daily emails and little snippets, sort of 1-minute videos at a time. The blueprint is a document that you need to read through, and then you can sort of critique your own work through there. There's a 4-part video series for people who prefer to sit and listen and watch with PDFs. So, yeah, there's all different ways that you can access the same information, and I wouldn't be practicing if I preach if my freebies didn't cater to all those different learning styles. So if you do the training and assessment that you've downloaded with Angela and you didn't score so well, then you can go to the free resources page on my website and download all of them. So just go to mariadoyle.com and go to resources, free resources, and they're all there.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure that those links are through on the podcast page as well, so that it's easy for everyone to find you. And look, thank you so much for your time today. The thing that comes across most clearly when we're talking is not only the depth of your experience and expertise here, but it's the real passion that comes across with everything that you do. You're definitely a person who is committed to making real change in the world, and by the materials that you're putting out there, that really underpins it. So really appreciate your time today.
You are very welcome. Yeah, it is at the core of what I do, is making real change in the world. And I love working with people whose primary driver is that, we all need to make money, and money makes the world go round, and we're all creating businesses because that's what we need to do. But if your core driver is using your content and using your knowledge and expertise to help people change their lives, then they are the people that I work with. They are the people I love working with. The resources that are online, there are a lot of free resources, but I think it's information that every passionate professional should have access to, because it's just, they're basic principles, and I think it should be free. So that's why I put so much free stuff up there. So, yeah, thank you, Angela, for the opportunity. It's been great having a chat. And I know that your audience and my audience are aligned. So, yeah, I hope that something in this podcast has resonated with the listeners.
I've got able
to move forward.
Absolutely no doubt that it has. So thank you again.
Awesome.
And to everyone who's listening, thank you for investing your time and your energy in the Next Chapter podcast. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing, I'd love to find out more about that. You can go to angelarasmus.com/ask Angela, and you can suggest a topic for a future episode or simply give us some feedback. And if you'd like to take that a little more formally, I would adore a review on iTunes. When you pop in there, it gives people a much better chance of actually finding this podcast. The more reviews we receive, the higher up the podcast ranking we go, and that makes more women being able to find and access the quality information with interviews like we've had today. So thanks again for your time, and I'll look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. This is Angela Rasmus. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Pop over to angelarasmus.com to subscribe to the show and leave a review. And whilst you're there, you can also enjoy valuable free resources, including show notes and downloads, along with the Next Chapter community, where you can connect with other wholehearted women on the same journey as you. We'd love to welcome and support you as your next chapter unfolds. See you next time.